This lesson is an introduction to exponential decay compared to exponential growth from the previous day. In the first statement of the warm-up, I asked the students to compare the two patterns in the tables. In Table A, all of the students recognized that A output was being multiplied times 3. In Table B, some of them recognized it was being multiplied by 1/2, and some recognized, especially from the output from 1 to 1/2, that it was being divided by 2. And so we talked about how being multiplied by 1/2 is the same as being divided by 2. And we also talked about how that multiplier, which we called b in the equation when we wrote it in the previous day's lesson, it's going to be the same equation we're going to use for today. Is going to be y equals a as a starting amount times b, that common ratio or that multiplier, to the x power. And so when we have that, when we write the equation for a from what we learned the previous day, that would have been y equals, the starting amount or the y-intercept is 1 times b is that common ratio to the x power would be the exponential function, and it would be the exponential growth function. It's increasing like we talked about the previous day with the penny problem. In the table B, it's decreasing, and so we talked about how if we wrote an equation based off of the same formula for it, the starting amount would be 1 again for the y-intercept, but it would be 1/2 to the x power. And it's not growing, it's actually decreasing, which we call exponential decay, which I'm introducing them to today. And so what's the difference between these two functions is that on the b value will be greater than 1 for the exponential growth, and b will be between 0 and 1 for the exponential decay. And so when we also talked about, well, you can look at the previous term instead of just looking at it multiplication, you can also look at it with division, like we talked about in Table B. You can see that if you divided the previous term, so if we had 3 divided by 1, it would be equal to 3. And if we had 9 divided by 3, it would also be equal to 3. So you also can look at the previous term with division. It's a little bit more difficult for students to see with the fractions. They can easily see from 1 to 1/2 that would happen, but if you had 1/4 divided by the previous term 1/2, you also can see that, remember that it's multiplied by its reciprocal, and so you still get 2/4, which is 1/2.